Hello and welcome to Onstad Storytime, the only Storytime show that openly makes crap up. Enjoy!
On 41st Avenue.
You did for here last week, Tim, I think round up is last week. But then you promised and said we'd have something underneath it. And I will not.
I hope you're all having a good October, because this month I'm going to be giving you some of my best horror stories. So I hope you guys have plenty more, because that's what you're going to get. And this one is called Legend of the Werecougar. What culture? Myself, because I made it up. It was Halloween night of 1999. The sky was dark and the full moon dominated the San Jose skyline. There was a couple driving in a 1982 Ford Escort coupe on a relatively sparse highway. The car's driver was a young woman in tight-fitting jeans with a low-cut V-neck. The passenger, meanwhile, had a red shirt with long sleeves, a pair of denim overalls, and a matching baseball cap with the letter M crudely inscribed in marker. "Thanks for bringing me to the party, Jenny," said the man. "I'm not just taking you there," replied Jenny. "I'm going." The man was bemused. "But you don't have a costume." "Don't worry, Joel, I have it all in the glove box," said Jenny as Joel proceeded to turn on the dome light and open the glove box. After shuffling things around, he found a plastic barrette topped with two roundish pale yellow cat ears. "Is this all you have?" he asked. "I have a Sharpie in my pocket. I can just draw whiskers when we get there," she answered. "Not really much of a costume," Joel retorted before he turned the dope light back off. "Oh, shut up," said Jenny before heading toward an off-ramp. "It's not like I have time to create a costume in between classes and that job at the food court." You see, said Joel, "it's shit like this why I dropped out." I thought it was because you didn't know what you wanted out of life," Jenny chuckled. "Well, that too," replied Joel as they drove into a parking garage. Jenny eventually found a spot on the third level where her car wasn't sandwiched by other cars. She turned off the car and the cassette player abruptly stopped playing music, and all was silent. Joel opened the door as Jenny requested, "Hey Joel, would you mind putting my parking pass in the window?" "Of course," said Joel, who rummaged through the glove box again to find the fall '99 parking permit and placed it in the window. You can go ahead without me. I'll be down in a few minutes," stated Jenny. "Oh," replied Joel, walking out of the car. "I love you," he said. "Love you too," she smiled as he shut the door with a metallic cling. He reopened the door and dragged the seatbelt out of the doorway and into the car before closing it with a firm, reassuring thud. Once Joel was long out of view, walking down the concrete steps of the parking lot, Jenny turned on her dome light and brought down her sun visor and flipped open the vanity mirror. She had taken her keys out of the ignition and put it in her right pocket. Then, with the left pocket, she got out the Sharpie and drew 6 wavy lines with 3 on each side of her face between her mouth and nose. She drew 2 curving shapes between the whiskers to give herself a crude cleft lip. "Should I cover my nose?" she wondered, looking down at the Sharpie. "I don't have another marker. It's good enough for $3, I suppose," she muttered to herself before flipping the visor back into the normal position. She got out of the car and stepped down the concrete steps out of the parking garage out onto the sidewalk. The night was bright and cars sped past the street lamps like specters in the night. She walked down a couple blocks as low-pitched sounds became slightly higher and the higher sounds became lower. The world started spinning as she suddenly lost her balance. "Maybe I'm going down with something," thought Jenny as her hearing improved slowly. "But I can always rest it off tonight." She would faintly hear techno music and the voice of a fraternity brother who stood outside the frat house. "Students only," he said. "Yes, but I'm with a friend who is a UCSJ student," rebutted Joel. "Look, until I see student ID, I'm not letting you in. Phi Beta Phi Delta orders," stated the frat boy as Joel sighed and walked down the sidewalk where he lay eyes on Jenny. "What are you doing out here?" she asked. They won't let me in, complained Joel. I'll go deal with him, said Jenny as Joel walked behind her. Unbeknownst to Jenny, however, the ears disappeared from her beret almost instantly, making it look as though she was only wearing a regular yellow beret. So, you won't let my boyfriend in? She inquired. Listen, lady, he doesn't have the ID handy. It's for students only. Jenny soon showed her student ID as her fingertips began to whiten as if they'd been bleached. I'm bringing him in as a guest, and if you have a problem with that, she said as her eyes slowly turned yellow. Of course, by all means, stammered the frat boy, noticing the changes. He stepped to the side and let the two in as if they were VIPs. The moment they walked in, they would be greeted by a strong scent of alcohol and the blaring sound of music that was practically loud enough to make the walls shake. They walked past where people were dancing toward the dining room where a buffet had been laid out and had everything from salad to pizza to donuts. Jenny had been putting slices of pepperoni and sausage pizza on her plate while Joel, who had already eaten, was busy waiting in the living room. The people were dressed up in all sorts of costumes, which ranged from plastic masks to full outfits. Jenny went to the back of the house where there was a large patio with many chairs. "Hey, Jenny!" called someone who waved to her. "Tina!" said Jenny, walking over to a table near a small staircase that went down toward a modest back lawn. "Great costume," complimented Tina. "Thanks, I guess," replied Jenny, sitting down at the table. "But what are you supposed to be?" asked Jenny, eating the pizza. "You don't recognize me?" exclaimed Tina. "No," said Jenny frankly. "I'm Buffy the Vampire Slayer," replied Tina. "Oh," said Jenny, "I'm not really into soaps." Well, I don't exactly have the talent to enchant my costumes either," said Tina, pointing at Jenny's now pink nose. "Enchanted?" Jenny asked in a bewildered fashion. "Well, last I checked, you weren't a felon." Jenny soon looked down her greasy fingers to find that her nails were consuming the ends of her digits, and black calluses were forming beneath her fingers as well as on her palms. All she could do was stare as her hands gained a subtle fuzziness that you wouldn't see from a distance. "Got your own tongue?" said Tina playfully as Jenny frantically grabbed at her beret, only to run her claws through shortening hair. I only got it at the Salvation Army," said Jenny, panicking. "It was a beret. How the hell was I supposed to know it was magic?" And I would have thought you would stick to that vegetarian diet that you've been trying out," said Tina. I was," said Jenny, downing her second slice of pizza. "Do you know where the bathroom is, perchance?" "There's one by the rec room, but last time I was there was a bit of a line," said Tina. "Thanks," replied Jenny, darting back to the house, where the music somehow seemed a little louder than when she walked in. There was only one person waiting outside the bathroom, as he was dressed in a cowboy outfit. "Is someone in there?" asked Jenny. "I'm waiting for my brother," said the man. "Well, get out of my fucking way!" she exclaimed, baring her still human teeth. "Will do, miss," said the frat boy fearfully as he proceeded to step over a small barrier upstairs to use the toilet up there. The door opened, revealing another fraternity brother riding an inflatable horse, with only a top hat and a checkered button-up shirt as he walked with a wide gaze. "Kyle?" he asked, looking around as Jenny quickly ran in to find that her pale yellow fur had taken over her head as her white fur appeared beneath her now actually splitting lip. She was speechless when she opened her eyes and watched her now rotund triangle-shaped ears moving up to the top of her head. Her chest had been flattening as her V-neck sagged against her growing fur. Yet despite these changes, only her feet felt sore and compressed. She untied her sneakers and took her socks off to find that her feet had gained claws, fur, and their arches were becoming more of an angle. This gave her natural high heels as canines slowly grew into fangs. She proceeded to walk out of the bedroom as all who were in the rec room were resting off hangovers. Jenny slowly growled subtly at the drunken prey, as drunken prey was starting to hunting. She walked toward them as a white flash came from the guest cameras and was soon accompanied by a clicking noise. She ran to the couches that surrounded the TV and simply let face urges take over. She pounced on the couch, and clawed at the guest's chest, biting his arm and biting his arm. The guys screamed bloody murder before their entrails were laid around the couch. The amateur photographer ran away with the camera. Jenny soon developed more of a maw, which let the now completely furred huntress gut her prey. A young lady with a film camera ran back into the living room and frantically turned off the CD changer. "There's a work cat here!" she exclaimed. "Somebody call animal control!" "Turn the damn music back on!" complained a drunken guest. Not until we get out of here, dear. Not until we get out of here do you want to be dinner." Joel's face lost all color as he imagined that Jenny was one of the victims. Tina heard the commotion and nervously walked inside, where Jenny had eviscerated most of the guests and even sported a fully grown tail through ripped-up jeans. "Oh, my mate," groaned Jenny, dragging her claws into Tina. She eviscerated her as she left great chunks of flesh, bone, and muscle exposed to the elements. It was then that Joel looked into the kitchen to find freshly killed bodies in a shag carpet lined with intestines and paw print-shaped blood stains. "Why you?" groaned Jenny as she waded to her picture. "We want kittens." Joel soon ran along with everyone else, save for a guest dressed as Dracula, who used the house cordless phone to call the police. Jenny bit into Joel's shoulder and sucked on it as if he were made of hard candy. After the last guest hung up, he frantically ran out the door as cries of pain emanated from the otherwise quiet living room. Joel's hair quickly receded into his skull as his shoes and the bottoms of his overalls were quickly ripped up.
His eyes turned green and circular as cries of pain turned to roaring. Claws emanated from his fingers as his face distorted. Pressing his ever-pinking nose and his pointing ears were shoved to the top of his head. Fur and the tail long sprouted, and once his changes stopped, he was nearly an exact replica of Jenny, save for being male. Jenny let go of her mate before walking back into the rec room, where she would soon lay down and claw all the clothes off her body, as she didn't need any more hides than she already has. Joel lied down on the living room couch and did the same thing, groaning as he clawed through his overalls and shirt like butter until he lay naked. They licked themselves before going to sleep. They awoke with a start as odd roaring and strangely colored sunlights permeated through the front window. Jenny's ears perked up as she got off the couch and bore her teeth, as no one had the right to be in her domain. She dragged her paws against the carpet to show those other cats who's boss. Joel, meanwhile, had curled up in fear as he didn't know what to make of anything. Black-hided humans walked in with large black sticks. Jenny growled to keep the invaders away before baring her razor-sharp fangs. One moment there was a sharp jab in her top right nipple. The next was all black. Jor bore his teeth at the humans to avenge his mate, but he too felt a sharp pain in his foreleg, and, like Jenny, was all black thereafter. That was the last anyone had seen or heard from Joel Dunton and Jenny Smith. Only one clear photo remains of the beast. The witch who enchanted the barrette in the first place remains at large to this very day, as there was no paperwork without such a donation. The costume had long been fused with Jenny, and both of them have to spend the rest of their lives at Big Basin in the Santa Cruz Mountain Range. It is unknown how large their litters are in comparison to other Werecougar specimens found in the Rockies or the Pacific Northwest, but some say they have the intelligence of humans and kidnap their prey before consuming them. Sometimes they are kidnapped without a trace, and local legends say that the presence of a once extinct species is the cause of nearly all missing persons in San Lorenzo Valley. Will you be next?
I hope you enjoyed that story just as much as I have. And now the question of the day is, if you were in Jenny's circumstance, what would you have done? Please give your answers in the comments. Your feedback is immensely important to me, more so than you could ever realize. Thank you very much for your time. This is Onstad 39, over and out.